Welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. We are creatives who live in an urban society and give readers wish fulfillment by way of our stories, which is fantasy but reflective of reality. Here, we get to talk to fellow creatives like writers, authors, artists, comic book creators, filmmakers, you name it. We create and share our art here in the Philippines as well as abroad. My name is CJ Edmunds, I'm your host, and here is today's episode. Good morning, fellow bookworms, book hoarders, book lovers, and creatives. Wishing you a great Wednesday morning. And I know that it will because we have another creative on board that I would like to introduce to all of you today. All right, this is episode 35 of the podcast. And like always, and during an ongoing session, our show is aired every Wednesday, and both for Spotify as well as on my YouTube channel. You have the option to listen or to watch us. The choice is in your hands. And whether you're listening or watching, please click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you do not miss a single episode, and you'll be notified when a new one comes along. Like always, all of our past episodes are all ready for you to return to or to listen to chronologically if you are joining us for the first time. Now, the beauty of starting something new is that everything is just a blank page, a canvas. Right? A blank page or a blank space where you can imprint and impart your art to the people that matter. And that is for whom you should be creating your art for when you think about it. And that is for the people who believe in what you do, but also you create primarily for yourself. Now, the beauty of discovering something new is also one of that is for the books. And I've done that with our creative that we have on the show today. Now, our guest, by way of his bio, calls himself a storyteller and a liar. Now, which makes him the perfect creative director by day, drunk by night, and sorry the day afterwards. All right. Take note, these are his words, not mine. But to be specific, he is the creative director for entertainment of LSC. This is a tech-driven content house that creates stories that shape culture. Now, his published works include the viral hit Charged, Volume 1, the young adult novel Dirt, and the Wakasang Wasak, which is a collection that includes the story, Ang Kama ni Stella. This is going to be a basis for an upcoming movie written and directed by James Mayo. Now, as a literary practitioner, he has conducted workshops all over the country, as well as poetry readings in the UK and South Korea for students and professionals from different fields. He gets really aggressive online when he discusses books that he has read and movies that he has seen. For him, reading is important. And he also feels that it will save the next generation from becoming influencers. Yeah, we all start as being readers, being creatives ourselves. Now, a little added info. For those inclined in astrology, you would be happy to know that he is a Scorpio. If he has, since the time that bio was written and up to now, he has changed his astrological sign. I don't know if he can do that, but if he's able to do that, he's the best person to ask, and why his friends call him Siege. Best to ask him directly. All right, let's say hi and good morning to Siege Malvar. Hello, Siege.
Hello, CJ. Kumusta? What's up?
I'm good.
Hello.
I'm good. Good morning, and welcome to
Good
Urban Fantasy
morning.
PH. I'm glad that you can join us today. As I said in the intro, there is beauty in starting something new, as well as
Right.
discovering something new. And I discovered your book. Let me hold it right here. See, I have a copy. Wakasang Wasak. By browsing bookshelves in different national bookstore branches. I like doing that. I mean, of late when I started the podcast, I found that it gave me more joy just going straight to it gave me more joy looking at those um, independent or Philippine shelves as composed to just going straight to the bestseller section and seeing which foreign author is in the top 10. And more often than not, I get surprised by what I find. So I was wondering, do you do that as well when you go visit a bookstore? It's like, oh, the top sellers, I know who those are. So I want to look at the shelves that people don't exactly go to.
Right. May certain joy talaga in discovering new authors, new titles na hindi part ng bestseller list. Right. So I get what you're saying. But also I'm surprised that you got a copy of that one. Can I ask if you got it from a major bookstore chain
Yes,
or
I did.
from
I
an
got it
online
from.
seller?
I forgot. I got it from a major bookstore chain. It was still in plastic, but I guess it was one of last two copies because it's not exactly white anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And
So
it's out of print.
yeah, ganyan ako katyaga maghanap.
Wow.
I really like,
Wow.
look at the stuff behind the display. It's like, okay, this book is interesting. Let's see if there's another or a better copy that's behind.
Yeah.
The one that I found is still bound in plastic. Of course, naturally, I had to get the one that's bound in plastic. So
Wow. I didn't know they still exist in the wild because after the publisher closed down, I thought all of the copies were pulled out. But
we're pulled out. Yeah, the publisher is Visprint.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what? Bukod sa paghahanap sa mga like major book chains, something that I really like doing as well is scouring through book sales.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They go
yeah,
to book
yeah.
sale. I
Suki
have
ako ng
this
book sale.
so we get it on book sale. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have this thing where if I like something and I don't have the budget to buy it yet, binabalik ko sa shelf na nakatalikod so no one will see it.
Yes,
And then
nice
I
to know that
bury
I'm
it.
not the only one, and I'm not the only one who takes that. What
You do
Siege
that too.
said was, yeah, he'll turn the book around, and so that it's the side of it's this side of the book that's facing, and
Right,
people won't exactly see the title. So yeah,
right,
well,
right,
if I don't do that, I will just tell the person in charge and say that, this is a three book series. I only found one and two. I'm not able to buy both today, but here's my number. Please keep it for me. I promise I
right,
will get it by the weekend, and I will make it a point to stick by my word and do go it by the weekend. And that's
right,
all. That's why
right,
I get their number as well, so I
right,
can text and say that, I might not be able to get it this weekend, maybe on the weekday after, as long as
right.
it's there, as long as it's there. But you know what? Sadly, people who always rush to go into a bookstore only to go out moments later because nothing caught your eye, or they either nothing caught your eye, they probably are not looking hard enough, or maybe just looking too hard that it just wears them out quickly. Like
Right.
wanting to be surprised in a store. Do you feel that art should not be rushed? That you should take your time because there's this fermentation process of sorts, and you should allow the process to fully clock out its given time in order to get the final product.
Oh, are you asking about the production of art or like the consumption of it, the way we experience it, the way we
Um,
produce art? What do you mean?
since the way we produce art, since we're all creatives here, so
Oh,
if let's say if you're crafting, let's say, the first draft of a novel or a novella, and your self-imposed deadline is because your competitor is releasing one new one the month after, and so you kind of like cram everything that in half of that time in order to beat the other person's deadline. But at the same time, back of your head, you feel like, I may have rushed it too much. There's some things that I have not covered. I wish I had more time, or I wish I've given myself permission to realize that I do have more time, and that this limitation that is there on my head, hanging just right above me, is a self-professed or self-induced or self-imposed limitation.
okay, okay. So my process is if I'm not working with a deadline,
Mm-hmm.
I tend to let it really simmer and percolate in my head. Like I really think about it. But then when I got into that, there's a certain high in
Mm-hmm.
creativity. Now, when you're really excited about a project, you wanna make it as soon as you can,
Yeah.
and there's also value in tapping into that momentum because sayang yung momentum eh. So there's value in tapping into that momentum that you get when you're really excited about a project and you just want to hell be damned and just like write, make, create without being overburdened with the without being overburdened by the chase for perfection or doing
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
right. just creating, the madness of creating something. There's value in that. So it's finding what works for for your own process. Medyo
Okay.
malabo yung sagot ko, but it's about really knowing yourself eh. Like
Mm-hmm.
this process works for me. That I have to tap into that momentum and really maximize while I still have the momentum for it. And then also letting things simmer and percolate and like really think about the details. So, or yung pagbubuntis, sabi nga ni Ricky Lee says,
Yeah.
writing is like being pregnant with an idea, and yeah, that really resonates with me as well. So yeah,
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
mixture of both
It
things.
may or may not take you 9 months to flesh out a fully first draft or a very well
Right,
written, edited first draft, but nonetheless, it's something that has gone through a simmering process or a refining process of sorts. So that at least that when you look at it again, you'll see more. You will see more things that you like than things that you don't like.
right,
In
right,
short.
right.
Um, Talking about your book, it does earlier on. It does bring me back on how I discovered the book. Once again, the book is entitled "Wakasang Wasak," or perhaps in English, "The Devastating End." And I was reading your acknowledgement. I was surprised to find out it was your fourth book. I had the impression that it was your first, but I usually love to backtrack and do things chronologically. So can you trace us back to the first time you finished your first book? Can you tell us,
Oh
let's say,
wow.
the process that you had to go through for that, and perhaps what was the inspiration behind that first book?
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
and in addition, would you happen to have a copy of that so we can just zoom it to the audience?
Do I have a copy of that? My first book, I don't have a copy of it anymore. The first published book. We're talking about the published books because
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
writers, as comic creators, we have that special
Oh
thing we
yeah.
did in high school or in grade
Uh huh.
school, and
Uh-huh.
our first
That's
book,
right.
and diba? It's
Yeah.
but
True.
the
True.
first
True.
book that I had published is with Psycom.
Okay,
If
it's
you're familiar
ICOM.
with Psycom,
Yeah, with
yeah,
ICOM. Yes.
Psycom. So my first book is with Psycom. It's called Bloody Mary the novel.
Ooh. Okay.
So I got in contact with the Psycom
Say her,
people because
say her name 3 times, and who knows, she might just pop up.
yes, exactly that urban legend about that the ghost, diba? So
Yeah, yeah.
got in contact with them because I won one of their writing contests. So because of that, I have a contact with the editorial team. So I pitched
Mm-hmm.
this idea to them. Okay, what if it's Bloody Mary, but it's book length,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of saying the name 3 times, the curse happens if you say the name 13 times.
Okay,
But
13 times. All right.
13 times, yes. But this time, itong group of characters that I have, they all took turns saying the name. So there's a
Okay.
sequence in which they will die. It's so
Oh,
silly, pero I
interesting.
really love
No,
that
no, no,
one.
it's not. It's an interesting
It's so
premise. I mean,
silly.
yeah, because usually when you hear things like that you have to be said, it's usually said by just one person, not
Yes.
not something that all 13 people will share the burden with. But I like that. I like that premise. Is it because you love horror movies that made you write that? I mean, what do you think you had to pull from in order to finish that book? Like, I don't know, maybe course that you took up in college, or maybe the kind of books that you were reading, or you were just really more into horror films at that time when you wrote it.
Yes, exactly. I love stupid horror movies. I think right. I think everyone's saying, "Oh, horror movies should be clever, should be intellectual." I don't know. Sometimes I just like a good scare. I love a good scare, and um, yeah, stupid, scary fun.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think you'll see that in my books. They're
those
all
those
stupid,
those
scary
those
fun.
B, those B movies, like, I don't know. I'm pulling now from the 80s, like Ghoulies and and some other obscure 80s films wherein you feel like, they should have just finished this film, 30 minutes ago. It's still running.
Yeah. Leprechaun, I think
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Leprechaun
right, right.
with
Leprechaun,
Jennifer
Leprechaun.
Aniston, diba? And
Yeah,
yeah,
God, I forgot that she was there. Sheesh, yeah, Leprechaun. Oh God.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um.
that's my first book.
Awesome, awesome. Do you think there's a chance that you might resurrect that book and, I don't know, give it to a different publisher so that people will still have a copy of it? The new generation of readers, that is.
Yes, yes. I've been playing with the idea of a Bloody Mary sequel for a long time.
As
So
Emperor
if,
Palpatine will say, do it now.
I think I'm waiting for that momentum. Now I will just sit down, write it out. But the idea is Bloody Mary is now a TikTok challenge.
Oh God. Oh
So
yes.
now the body count is blowing up. The
I
body
like
count is
that. I like
blowing
that.
up,
I like that.
and there's a lot of digital influencers dropping dead because they're doing
Oh
the
God.
challenge.
Oh, that'll be
So
great. That'll be great. That actually can work as Bloody Mary 2, and then you retain whatever idea you had in Bloody Mary 1, so that at least you'll have two books to speak of. The Bloody Mary series. I'd love
right,
that. Yeah,
right,
and try to hook up some endorsements for wine and stuff as well because it's Bloody
right,
Mary.
right. And also now yung requels, diba? They're the remake
Yeah, exactly.
sequels.
The
So
remake.
like
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. Requels. God.
Scream 5 or 6. Scream 5. I think Scream 5 is the requel. They totally rebooted it, soft reboot, but it's also a sequel. So yeah, I think it's a fun, it's a fun format to play with.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I can't wait to see that. I will envision it for you in 2024 or perhaps in 2025. No matter how long it takes, I would love to see that on the shelf. Do you think that what you read influences what and how you write? And perhaps would there be examples of that in your previous or current work
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. I take to heart Stephen King's advice
on writing?
from in writing, yung
Yeah.
book ni Stephen King na in writing. Um,
Yes. It's here
I bet you
somewhere.
have a copy of that
I
somewhere.
have, I have. It's here somewhere. I just saw it the other night when I was cleaning my disorganized shelf. But yeah, I know the book.
Yeah, all creative should have that. I think all creative should have that. I think I really like his advice na you start by copying the voice of a writer you really like. So if you, and that's what he did then when he was starting. He would
Hmm.
write like those he idolized. So if you really like a writer's voice, you mimic them. I think
Yeah,
that's one of his tips. Yeah, like you mimic how they write, their tone, how they use words, until eventually you find your own voice. You start to break away from that, and you start discovering your own voice. So yeah. To your question, I do a lot of mimicking. Then and I think until now, I would really parang like I want I want to sound like this writer. I want to sound like
hmm,
that writer when I'm drafting the tone before I eventually find the tone na I think would work with that particular story.
right, right. And and
Yeah.
and things like that, they do come out in your first draft, and then when you sort of like start doing your revising, you'll find that, oh, I don't remember writing it this way, but I'm
Yeah.
liking it. So that
Yes.
means it stays there because it elicited this reaction. It's like, I'm wow, I wrote this. So that's why it pays to kind of like shelve your work for a brief period of time if you're done with, let's say, with the first draft. Don't touch it, don't read it, don't let anyone read it, of course. And then when you
Right.
come back to it, you will be pleasantly surprised that you were able to come up with with whatever it is that you did on paper.
Right.
Let me
That's one of
plug
the
on what
joys of being a writer, I
it
think.
is. It is. It
Like
is.
being a fan of yourself. That sounds
Yeah,
narcissistic, but being a fan of yourself now, you discover some of your older writings and you go like, "Oh my god, I wrote that. That is
yeah.
so cool." So
I,
yeah,
I I
I
like it
get
how you put that in the sense that you really have to not just enjoy the process, but of course part of enjoying the process is also enjoying the final product. Because if you can't
right,
stand your own work,
right,
you better be
right,
sure that an editor is also going to be challenged when they read your own stuff. So you have to
right,
love
right.
what you do. Now, apart from having that Stephen King book, which I know is lying around somewhere, let me add this other book for creatives out there, for who loves a different genre, but maybe for the fantasy genre. If you love Terry Brooks, you should have this as well on your shelf. Right? It's called Terry Brooks Lessons from a Writing Life. The book is called Sometimes the Magic Works, and I draw so much inspiration from this one, both as a reader and from a creative. So if anyone has a copy of that, hang on to that because that's gold right there.
Where did you get your copy?
This one, syempre book sale.
Oh, book
For
sale. Maraming salamat.
for 160 pesos. Oh, di ba?
Wow.
I don't know if you do that too, but if I see the sticker at the back, I don't leave it there at the back. I take it out and I put it in the inside flap.
Ah, that's so smart.
And then if just to be a little bit more, anal retentive, the I used to have the receipt for this. I will clip the receipt
Oh
that I
wow.
have, so at least I know the date that I purchased it and the price tag, of course.
Oh
So
wow.
that's how OC I am with some of the stuff that I
Wow.
get, and not just in book sales, but from major book chains as well. I would love to just surprise myself and flip open the book and say, "Oh, I got this 8 years ago, and I haven't
Wow.
read it."
Wow. Usapang book buying and book hoarding. How do you deal with storage? Because that's one of my problems right now.
Oh
Like I
God,
don't know.
God,
Yeah,
God.
I don't know which books I need to let go, but I need to make space
Yeah,
so I can buy more books. How do you deal
I
with that?
know.
How do you
How
do
do I
that?
deal with it? If I know that I can live without not reading it, that will be part of my donation box. If it still piques my curiosity, and I know that I think I can learn something, writing wise and reading wise, and probably even world building wise, from this new author that I've discovered, and I know that it still piques my curiosity, I will keep that.
Wow.
For how long it takes before I get to read it. Um, you can't see the camera now, but I want to pan it slowly here to my right. But maybe I'll send you a screenshot. But my TBR pile has been guilty of neglect, because what I would do is, like, I'll also order some books off Shopee and Lazada that I find that are not in the main
Mm-hmm.
bookstore chains and are also equally not in book sale stores. They will be occupying a huge chunk of my sofa here in the
Mm-hmm.
study. So much so that people will not be able to sit on the sofa because they're all full of books. So what I did was, these three-tiered carts that people use in their kitchen where they put all the
Yeah.
condiments on. That's what I used
Right.
to
Right.
where for now, where I put all my current TBR
Oh
piles
wow.
there. So they're all on that push cart. The push cart is heavier, and so it's not easy. It's not easy to push anymore because most of my hardbound books are down there. So ayan tuloy. And of
You're
course the
so
shelves
brave
here.
for letting go of some books, huh?
I know. It's hard to let go. And I remember my mom would tell me when she was still around, she would say that, "You keep buying books. Are you opening a bookstore?" I was like, I wanted to tell Mom, wait, because if I do, you'll be the first to know. Yeah. And every reader will have um, that thing for them, that I'm going into a bookstore. I cannot, like, not come out of it and not have something in my hands. It's like
Right.
a cardinal.
Right.
It's like a cardinal rule, even in book sale. So I feel like
Right.
I've wasted my trip. I didn't see anything. But I just kind of like through the years, I just kind of like chuck it to, all right, universe. If you want me to see something, point it out,
Right.
so that the first thing that that catches my attention, I know that it's for me because I saw
Right.
it there,
Right.
and I just sort of like condition myself that way so that I don't end up hoarding way too much than I can handle.
But another thing though is when you go to a book sale and you see a title you really like and you start to wonder, what if I never see this book again? What if I right? So
Exactly,
you have to buy
exactly.
it at that moment. You can't let it go because who
I know.
knows? You might
Yeah,
never
yeah.
see it again.
And not just that particular book. How what if the edition that's there on book sale is different from the edition that you have? So you have the
Right.
US edition, but book sale has the UK edition.
The
It has
UK
a
edition,
different cover.
yes.
It has a better
Yes.
blurb or whatever, and it has more citations from different authors that this other
Yes.
edition doesn't have. Okay, you're going home with me.
True.
Like I'm
I think
adopting you now.
that's how I ended up with 5 copies of Dune by Frank
Mhm.
Herbert because I keep buying it whenever I see a copy in book sales.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know how they get their copies, but you if you're not steadfast in really searching the shelves and flipping through the books there, you just might miss an edition that you're looking for. So from
Right.
your book one, let's move on to your book two. Is your book two there, perhaps? And what would book two be all about, in case?
Ah, I think I have copies of my books, pero they're in a box.
Oh, they're in a
Can
box. Okay, okay. So this is for book number three. That's called Dirt. There you go. Okay. All right. Awesome.
yeah.
So you need not read book two to appreciate book three, right?
Right, right. They're all standalone
No
stories naman.
standalones.
So
Okay.
you can
Great. Great.
enjoy, you can read them.
Okay. So let's
Yeah.
get back to the book that caught my attention, which is number four. And I was
Okay.
wondering, was the inspiration for this book maybe similar to the ones before? And without spoilers, can you tell us what the book is all about?
Okay. Uh, alam mo, may copy din ako niyan here. I can pull it out. Hold on.
Okay. Sure.
Yun.
Okay, you found it. Great.
Sorry. Wakasa-wasa.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. The inspiration for this was old comics, old Pinoy comics. That's
Okay.
why when designing the cover, I told the illustrator, um, si Kit La Peña, um, yeah, yeah, this is by Kit La Peña. Yeah, yeah, it's by Kit La Peña. Kit
Yeah.
La Peña, brilliant illustrator. I asked him to create a cover that will remind people of um, 80s, 90s horror comics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yung Hiwaga, Kilabot,
Yes.
those comics. So that's why the aesthetics of it is very pulp comics, pulp
Yeah.
horror,
Yeah.
pulp fiction.
It does. It
So
does.
right. So I really love those comics growing up. And I think a lot of my my imagination was formed by those comics. So para siyang homage and tribute to the 90s, 80s horror comics. Like what would happen if they take like a novel form or like in short story form. So that's how even the sensibilities of the stories inside are
Yeah.
um is aligned with
Mm-hmm.
the 80s, 90s Pinoy comics. Yeah.
All right.
Also,
So
I
it.
wanted to yeah. So
Sure. Go ahead.
the overarching theme of the stories I women empowerment. If
Mm-hmm.
you've noticed, they're all about strong female characters because I think that's fun to explore in in the horror um,
genre, right? Because the usual victims in horror movies, in horror stories, are women, diba?
Mm-hmm.
Are they're shown as vulnerable or victims of violence. But then the violence here is also transformative. So I chose strong female lead characters to be in the middle of these situations,
Mm-hmm.
and show how they're not always as helpless as they're depicted in horror movies. I
Yes.
think an inspiration could Jan would be Buffy. I think
Yes. There
Buffy.
you go. I was gonna say Buffy.
Yeah,
Buffy
Buffy's
is
great
one.
because
Yeah.
because
Buffy kicks ass.
the typical cheerleader is the first girl to die,
Yeah.
right? But Buffy turned that around. Buffy is the savior. Buffy is the strong one. So I wanted my own Buffy, so I came up with three strong lead characters.
I love it. I love it. I love it that you referenced Buffy. Speaking of Buffy, do you still have issues with the movie version?
Which version?
With the movie version, the one with Christy Swanson.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I
That's
haven't seen
that's
that.
that's the one that first came out, and the bad vampire, the head honcho vampire there is oh god, the original guy in Blade Runner. He's at the end. He's at the tip of my tongue. Rutger
Donald
Hauer. Rutger
Rutger
Hauer.
Hauer.
Rutger Hauer. And Pee Wee Herman is also his sidekick vampire. So
Oh, wow.
it's campier. It's campier than the TV series. I mean, the TV series explored, Buffy's own mythos and expounded it to great lengths, which I really love. But the movie came out first. I remember watching it in Laserdisc. Oh my god, this
Wow.
ages me. So, but for people who are very enterprising enough, I'm sure you can find ways to watch that movie, and I will not tell you how to do that because you're enterprising enough as it
Right,
is
right.
in this age. So, but yeah, going back to your book, so basically for those who have not gotten a chance to get a copy of the book, or you may have it lying there somewhere in your own library. It's a collection of three stories. Okay, and I must say that out of the three stories, the first one is my fave, and that's entitled "Ang Kama ni Stella," or in English, "Stella's Bed." And in the story, which I will not, no spoilers as always here in this particular podcast, but in the story, you referenced older beings in literature like Azathoth and Ephalanim, and then the one that most people know would be Cthulhu. And if these
Yes.
Lovecraftian beings were actually alive, if they were alive, I wonder what would they have to say about our society today. Yeah,
That's a fun um, thought experiment. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think Cthulhu will have a lot of fans for one.
He
I
has. He has
think
his own
the,
Funko. Wait,
the
I have a Cthulhu Funko. Right, just right there.
oh
Let
my
me
god!
get it.
Wow!
Let me get
Wow.
it.
All hail! All hail!
Oh, hail Cthulhu.
All hail!
He is right here. Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
god! All hail the one who slumbers!
Hashtag bawal gisingin.
Oh my god, bawal gisingin yan. Oh,
Yeah,
all hail!
there you are. There you are.
Oh, he's so cute there.
He is. That's why I got him. When I saw him, I was like, okay, no one seems to be paying attention to Cthulhu on the shelves, so okay, that's mine. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, what do you think? How do you think they will react to this society? I think I think Cthulhu will be big on TikTok. I think he'll have his own
Oh yeah,
channel.
he will have his own channel for sure.
I think he'll be
Um,
selling a lot of products because he can.
he will be the main
Funko Pop for
endorser.
one.
Yeah, Funko Pop for one. That's true. As a thought, I don't know. He might. I don't know. Would you reckon he'd have his own cooking show?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there'll be Azathoth apologists everywhere.
yeah. There you go. If L&M might, I don't know, maybe might start selling beauty products or whatever. I don't know, because they can. Uh,
Right.
yeah, but it is interesting to see these older beings reference, and I was like yes, they're here. So the second tale this time around is about this provincial pageant show that sort of gave me Children of the Corn vibes, and I knew
Yes.
that I got that same vibe because I was reading to the post credit scenes that you had there, and you did say that that was what you sort of like referenced. But when you were writing that, was that your intention when you first wrote it?
Yes, alam mo, I'm so kilig. I'm so happy you invited me on this podcast because it's so great to talk to someone who finally gets it, who finally gets the references. It's Children of the Corn.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. Stephen King's Children of the Corn. This was a movie series, diba?
Hmm.
And
I
and
lost
partly
count
it's
how many
also
series, how many sequels it had. So
yeah. It should they should be remaking it soon. I think there should be a reboot soon.
yeah.
Plus, Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. So those two inspired it. So there's also that
Mm.
creeping dread in Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. They're good, they're good rural. I need to roll my R's. They're good rural folks, and they're well-meaning. They just they want to live a simple life, but also what happens if there's a system in place that exploits the goodness in them
Hmm.
for evil deeds. So I don't want to fault them for participating, but the system they were born into. That's why
Hmm.
that's why the pageant has always been there. The pageant has always been there to to demand the sacrifice.
Yeah,
But and they're just part of that system. They're born into that system, so they abide by that system, and it's
because they
not
don't know
really
any
their
better. Yeah, that's
yeah.
how
So that's what I
that's how
wanted to
they're
say. But
raised. Exactly, exactly. And
yeah,
I like it that, and they're it's not as if it's a surprise for them about the outcome. They know what the pageant is for.
yes,
It's no surprise to them. And so I like it that there was a scene there where the mom was beating her kid, and was telling her that you will not join that pageant. I mean, I'm your mother. I'm gonna spank you to death
yeah,
if
yes,
you do join. And it's nice to see, people who are willing to step out of what they normally have gotten accustomed to, because in these
right,
days we can be lulled into just that. So like, oh, everyone else is doing it, so okay, I'll do it as well.
right,
But um, knowing what you know now, we know that there's always ways to break the system, or
right,
to kind of like circumvent the system at the very least, and so that you still get your own way, and at the same time not hurt anyone in the process. Now the
right.
third one,
You get it. You
I
get it.
felt, yeah, the third one I felt was your most urban fantasy of the three, and it gave me an idea that perhaps you were on the way to building a bigger separate universe where the main character who is a powerful witch is able to thwart a rapid case of women who suddenly get pregnant and were wanting to have their babies aborted. In that tale, you reference the controversial RH, or reproductive health bill, which has sadly fallen to the wayside and currently ignored.
Right.
But should that bill be somehow ratified, how would you perhaps approach the sequel to that story? Or would you just leave that as it is and create a new one after the bill gets passed and becomes a law?
Okay. Wow, you really get it. I must commend you. Really, really get it. I was building towards a bigger universe. So
Mm-hmm.
so the witch's story here is like my pilot for it. It's like my
Okay.
pitch. Like you I know you get. It sounds like a pitch, right? It sounds like a pilot, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah,
reads like
yeah.
a pilot.
It
It
does.
it,
It
it
does.
reads like it reads like a pilot episode, and I really wanted to tell more stories featuring that character. Um, with regards to dealing with the issues, I'd say I might have to use her stories to tell other issues, because
Mm-hmm.
after I have discussed the importance of reproductive health for one, um, because okay, I believe that reproductive health bill is not just like a birth control issue. It's reproductive health. It's a holistic approach towards health and health and wellness that is concerning the reproductive system
Uh-huh.
of men and women.
Yeah.
So um, and since I already discussed that in that story, I might use her other stories to discuss other issues.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, I might not go back to that issue again
That's all right.
because
That's
I've
okay.
already used it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You plan to move forward, which is also part of expanding your own mythos when you think about
right,
it, because you add more stories to the ones that are already there. It's like layering in a way.
right.
Your post credit scenes were also a hoot to read. You had one there that's called Sparkle Bitch, which was a direct nod, if not a direct jab, at Twilight. But at the risk of offending twihards, I just wanted to know, what was it about the franchise that you perhaps liked or did not like? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Not it's it's so silly. It's not that I don't like it, but I like making fun of it. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Okay. Yes, it does. It does.
It's
It
not,
does.
I don't like it, but it's so funny to make fun of it. Na vampire sparkling in the sun. So I thought, well, if that's what you want, then sparkle along, diba?
Yeah. Sparkle. Sparkle
So
away.
go
Yeah. That's,
ahead.
go to it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
true. True. Um. Uh. Anne Rice was actually also asked about that question. What do you think about Stephanie Meyer? What do you think about Charlene Harris? She has praises for Charlene Harris for the Suki Stackhouse
Sushi Stackhouse.
series. Yeah, and which is also the basis for the HBO series True Blood. If in case you
Yeah.
guys have not watched it, then I suggest you watch it, but make sure there are no kids around. Yun lang ang sasabihin ko.
It's on
So
Netflix
that
now.
it's
It was
yes,
on HBO Go. It's now on Netflix.
it is. It is already on Netflix. So yes, I can finally, watch it all over again, and and air my issues about how their fangs just pop out. I mean, it's so convenient. Like, people don't want to know that they're vampires. That's, they'll just pop back in, and if needed, they'll just pop out. So I don't know what Suki Stackhouse had to say about that popping thing. But yeah, but going back to Twilight, Anne Rice did say that it's for her, it's fine. I mean, it's not that she's blaming some sort of copyright on how vampires should be written. But the good thing about vampires is that they are the eternal outsider, and so because of that, people will always feel that they're on the in the wrong side of the fence for different reasons and under different circumstances, and so that's why there will be different manifestations or different creations involving vampires, and it's the one monster that's on top of the you know tier, and it's like a cycle. There will be times when people get sick of it, and then after a while, when the brouhaha dies down, people are going to be looking for it again. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next monster that comes out again will be we're going to be back to vampires. So I would like to
Right.
to see that. I noticed also in different passages that the book sort of goes meta by way of referencing yourself and saying that readers have issues regarding the writing style of someone named Siege Malvar. So I'm curious, what made you include references like that, and And perhaps could it be a subconscious way that is brought out onto the work to remind you that as an author or as a creative, you should not take yourself too seriously?
I like that. I like what the last thing you said, because that's really my mindset going into the project. Na
Mm-hmm.
this is a project na I'm not taking too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It's all fun to write. I mean, it's very
Okay.
fun to write for me because, as you mentioned, I went meta in some places. I poke fun at some places. I I inserted unnecessary scenes just to tell a joke. If you've
Yeah.
noticed, there are like stupid scenes there that an editor would have struck out because it's not necessary for the story, but I really wanted to insert a joke or
Right. Right.
or or lecture, insert a lecture. I think I also lectured about the flying spaghetti monster in
Yep.
this.
The flying spaghetti monster.
It's there because I was really going against everything that I learned from university. Okay, so I was taking my MA as a creative writing major. So my major
Mm-hmm.
in MA was creative writing, and there are several I wouldn't call guidelines, but conventions. There are
Mm-hmm.
conventions in writing, right? So there's organic unity where every elements in a story has to gel and jive organically and work towards one thing, or being clear about or show don't tell, diba? May mga
Mm-hmm.
writing
Oh
conventions like show
God!
don't
Show don't
tell,
tell. Yeah,
um,
that's always a challenge.
right? So yeah, and brevity or coherence. So I was like, what if I go against all of that and
Mm-hmm.
just write a really fun experience? So the fun thing about this is it's fun for me to write, and I was hoping it will be fun for the readers to read as well.
Yes, it
So
was. It was, and it
that's
is. It
that's the
is.
book. That's why it's a hodgepodge of all crazy stuff. So
Right. But when you do find yourself starting to take yourself a little too seriously, is there anything that you do to ground yourself and remind yourself that, hey, you're just like everybody else?
whenever I start to take myself too seriously, um, I I can tell because writer's block ako. If I can't
Mm,
move on and I can't
okay.
continue writing, that
Right.
means I'm taking myself too seriously and I'm putting undue pressure on myself to write the best goddamn piece of writing
Mm-hmm.
that I can. So what I need to do is let go of that and admit that I'm really bad at this. I'm really bad at this. And then once I've accepted that, I'm not that good. I'm not Palangka material. I'm not Booker Prize material.
Mm-hmm,
Then the
mm-hmm.
writing flows better. Then the
Okay.
writing flows easier. So yeah.
Yeah, it is undue pressure on yourself when you start. Well, as creatives, we all are guilty of that, or maybe not even as creatives, but as people, we sort of we subject ourselves to comparison. We compare people
Yes.
ourselves to other people, or even not just other people, but sometimes even our relatives. Even sometimes our parents would do that to us. It's like, why can't you be like your cousin Joseph, who's who has an MA in this and that, and who studied at
Uh,
MIT, and you're just here, you know, working for the
uh,
corporate, for corporations and all that. Or why can't you be like your sister who's magna cum laude and you're just sailing, you're just, barely making the grade. So, yeah, I think it's that. There'll always be greener things on
right.
the other side of the fence. People on the other side of the fence tend to dress better. People on the other side of the fence tend to look better than us. So it's always, I
Right.
guess, it's always that. But you know what? And sometimes what other people say about what we do will have that effect. I mean, it will pull us down back to terraform for too much in the clouds. But just in case, how do you handle when people don't necessarily agree with what you write? I mean, is there like a conscious effort to not let it get under your skin? And any suggestions for creatives out there who may feel that they rely too much on other people's opinion regarding their own work?
Okay. Um, napaka-insightful ng question mo. I really like your question because at, at, at my age, I've come to realize that um, it's striking that balance between listening to criticism
Mm-hmm.
and also um, picking only what you need to improve yourself.
Okay.
Okay, because I think when people criticize you, there's value in that as well. We have to listen when people tell us you're doing this wrong, or this is too much, or this isn't enough. When people criticize your writing, your work, there's value in that. We can learn from that because they will tell us what they want, what they need, what they're expecting to see in our works.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good if we can listen to them, but also siguro with experience, with age comes the wisdom to pick the one you need because you don't need all of them. You need the
Okay.
one that you know is grounded on insight or grounded on actual informed criticism, and one that is purely bullshit. One that is purely mema lang, alam mo, may comment
Yeah,
lang
yeah,
just so
yeah.
they can say something.
Right.
Weed them out. You weed them out. It's gonna be hard to tell which one you need, but with experience, with age, you'll
You'll
get to
be
see
able to
na
do that.
some criticism you can really use, and that's what I've been doing. I listen to criticism whenever they say something about my writing, but not all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
What perhaps would be the biggest lesson or wake up call that you have ever learned from being a creative that has sort of like become a life lesson to you, and you would gladly impart on other aspiring creatives?
Oh, that was easy. From Francesca Beard, my friend from the UK when I was doing spoken word in the UK. She said, let your first draft be the pathetic piece of shit itself is meant to be. So first
Okay.
drafts will always be pathetic pieces of shit. It's going to be disgusting and messy and all over the place, and it will be the worst version of the story. The
Okay.
first draft will always be the worst version of the story. So there's no point agonizing over it, right? You
Yeah.
just need
First
to
drafts
write
are
it
not
down.
meant to be perfect. Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly, exactly. It's meant to be shitty. So you just write it down. You just write it out, write it down, and then you revise. Then you look at it. Some more earlier in the show, there's a value in giving it a pause and then going back to it after
Right.
some time has passed. Yeah, yeah, do that. Just write it out. Write the first draft, then let it simmer, let it rest, let it percolate. My favorite term.
Yeah.
Let it
Percolate.
percolate for a while, and then go back to it, and then you edit it out. Then you polish it, you refine it.
Yeah.
So that's
Um. From what I gather, and let me take a guess. You're more of an outliner than a pantser, or could you probably be both?
sorry, I missed that one. I was coughing. Sorry.
I'm from gathering from how you reference your own creative process. I'm gathering that you could probably be more of an outliner than a pantser, or perhaps maybe even both.
I am an outliner. I really
Yay!
start with
I guessed it right.
yes. I start with an outline, but very broad outlines, and I've made peace with myself that I will not always follow the outline.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes something might come up in between those two items.
And something will
Sometimes,
do come up in between that when you write. It
yes,
will just
yes,
change. It will just change.
yes,
Yes.
And change is okay because it's part of the refining process. Okay,
Yes. But the
so
outline helps. The outline is a
it
great
does.
start. It's a great place to
Yeah,
start.
yeah. It doesn't have to be like super detailed. It can be just
Right.
bullet points to sort of like reference, and so that if you're kind of like feeling lost, you know that this one comes after. Um,
Right.
this is not part of my question, but the concept or the thing about story Bibles just suddenly popped into my mind because we were talking about outlines. Do you have story Bibles? And when would be the best time to make them?
Not for my book projects, but for my movie projects. That's
Okay.
part of the process. We really have to have like character sheets,
Yes.
history, yeah, for continuity purposes.
Yeah.
So, ca- is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Bible, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah. The
Bible.
story Bible. Yeah. Because
Yeah, the
some
story
people
Bible.
feel
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you
yeah.
can do them simultaneously while you're writing, and then you have another file for your story Bible, or
Yeah.
finish the whole thing first and then do your story Bible. So I don't know how I don't know how some people do
Ah,
it. Some people don't even have a story Bible per se, and so they'll have
yeah,
to go back and reread their own work in
right.
order to be reminded of what they wrote.
In movies, because it's a collaborative medium, we do need that because
Okay,
you won't be writing the scripts by yourself, right? So you need like a common reference point so that everything is consistent. So story bibles really work in that medium. For myself, for my personal book projects, I don't have I don't need one.
okay.
So no, I don't have.
It's really for your film work. Okay, I
Yeah,
get it.
or also I guess if I have a collaborative book in the
Mm-hmm.
future, then
Mm-hmm.
we might need like a story bible because at least it's good because story bibles are important because they serve that purpose. It's a common ground. It's a common reference point that people can review and check out if the characters are still consistent, right?
Exactly. And if like, if you're lucky enough to be somebody like Brandon Sanderson, that you can continue on what what Robert Jordan has done, you need a story Bible for that, right?
Right,
So
right.
so that that's how it goes. Any rituals perhaps before you write? Some people play music, some people light a candle in the room, or do you dim the room lights in order to be conducive for you to write?
Okay. My rituals are very practical. First, I do some stretchings.
Mm-hmm.
I do some stretchings because writing is physically sustained activity. You need to sit down for long periods of time in a certain posture, and it can be
Mm-hmm.
very. If you don't do stretchings, um, you'll feel depleted easily. You'll feel
Yeah.
exhausted easily. Holding that posture or sitting down for a long time. So my first ritual is stretching. My second ritual is eating and preparing some food, but to snack with while I'm writing, because it is thinking burns calories and writing is a mental activity that will burn calories and like I don't want to stop what I'm writing just so I can get out and buy a sandwich, because
Yeah.
that will disrupt the process.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
simula pala, before I start, I make sure I'm full, so I don't need to worry about eating. Or if I need to eat something, there's one nearby. There's
Yeah.
a handy. Yeah, so I don't need to disrupt my process and get something to eat.
All right.
So
I
so
get
those
it.
are two very practical rituals. Sh- I don't think I have any shamanic or mystical rituals other than offering a virgin to Cthulhu.
Okay, that will work.
That'll work. That usually work.
That will work. What will not work is that if you run out of virgins to offer, so there's another problem there.
Right. Right.
You have to go through an agency to look for one.
There's
And
a
pay.
whole vetting process, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And you have to pay the fee. And if you can't pay the
Yeah.
fee, then you have to borrow money from people who can foot the
Right.
bill for in the meantime for you. We're really going off track here. um, what are you currently working on? Yeah.
Ah, I'm working on. I sent you a draft of this.
Yes, you
A
did,
new
and I'm
novel.
enjoying it.
It's called. Yes, it's called Poor Town. Poor Town is a theme park where privileged people can pay money to experience poverty.
There you go.
So,
There you
so
go.
it's like poverty porn, pero experiential.
Uh huh.
You get to
I
experience
can
how
see
it's like.
the social ramifications of that. You're gonna be they're gonna be in that
Yes.
book already. So I love the premise. Is there like a release date already that you're looking towards?
None yet. None
Not yet.
yet.
Okay. All right, that's okay. But at least we know that that's what's going on. But
Yes.
if they want to get copies of your book, the previous ones that we've talked about, would there be still some active sellers who are carrying that, perhaps?
So since Visprint closed years ago, I think you can only get copies of my books through carousel sellers or Facebook Marketplace
Okay.
sellers,
All
so
right.
secondhand sellers. But
Okay.
there's also a good chance that Avenida Books may have some
Yes.
copies left.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Avenida Books.
but it might not be available on their online stores. You'll have to
Mm-hmm.
send them a message
Okay.
or
Great.
check them out. I don't know if
Right. Or do what I do. Just go through the shelves of uh, of those not so frequently visited branches of popular book chains and just rummage through the shelves, and who knows what you might find. Right.
yes,
You'll
I
be
think there's
surprised.
a couple. Yeah, there's
Exactly.
a couple of stray copies in the wild.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Where can they know more about you and your work on social media if they want to bug you and ask you stuff?
Oh, oh wow. Okay. Sige. I post a lot of nonsense on my Facebook. So Siege Malvar. That's on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. On IG, I occasionally do that. What do you call that thing where people can ask you stuff on IG? Wait, I have that app. NGL.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I do that NGL thing on IG, and my IG is, I'm not sure what my IG is. Siege Malvar din ata. Yeah,
Yes, it
at
is. It
Siege
is.
Malvar. Yeah, I think that, yeah, that's my IG. And then I'm on TikTok where I do a lot of silly stuff. Wait, I'm not sure what my TikTok address is. The Siege Malvar on TikTok.
Okay,
There's a
the Siege
THE.
Malvar.
So
All
the
right.
Siege
We will put
Malvar on
all of
TikTok.
that, all of those links on the show notes so people can just click
Oh
and
yeah, oh,
follow
that
you
would be great.
directly on social media. But going back to the first question, I don't think I.
Goodreads. Sorry, pwedeng pa-plug.
Oh, sure. Goodreads.
Check out
Yes,
my
yes, yes.
Goodreads page and please like drop a comment or a review of the books if you read it. So
Okay.
that would help me.
All right. Right.
I'm on
We
Goodreads.
we will do that. So we'll look for you as well on Goodreads. But I did say about asking you where you got your name. Why do people call you Siege? I never really got to follow up on that.
Ah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Because I think, as you can guess, because you're CJ, my initials are CJ as well,
Okay.
and since I play a lot of, I'm a gamer, so a lot of people online call me, shorten CJ to Siege,
Okay.
and it kind of stuck. So I started using Siege in game and then in IRL. So yeah,
All right. So that explains it. Okay. Question
it's my forever
answered.
name. Forever
Yes.
name.
Question forever name.
It's my forever name now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Apparently, looks like it. But Siege, thank you so much for joining us today on this episode. I really had so much fun talking
Thank
about
you
your
then, CJ.
process and your books. We wish you all the best in all your future writing endeavors. May you always be given the chance to impart your experience and your wisdom to other creatives out there. Thank you to Spine Books for your support since day one, and our new friends over at Nerd Nibblers or Nerd Nibbles, of which you can also follow them on Instagram. If you are a creative and you would like to be featured in the podcast, you just gotta shoot us an email. That's urbanfantasyph at gmail.com. If you're wondering about the stuff that I personally do, feel free to check me out. That's cjedmunds.com. And you can also visit the Shopee page of Spine Books and get a copy of Sojourn and Take Me Now. Follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, Threads as well. So, till the next episode, guys, enjoy the rest of the week. I'll see you in the next one. Indie Creatives Unite. Keep creating, and we will keep reading. Stay creative, stay inspired. Namaste, and blessed be. Bye,
Bye.
Siege.
Bye, CJ. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Join us next time as we feature another creative soul who wants their art to be seen, heard, and shared. If you have your own work to share, just email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Till the next episode, this is independent author, singer-songwriter, radio personality, voice actor, and fellow creative, CJ Edmunds, reminding you to always listen to your heart, create with your mind, and share with your soul. Goodbye, everybody. Namaste. Blessed be.